You're watching Moms Matter. I'm your host, Shirin Yadigar, and today in the studio we have Lily Moo, all the way from the United Kingdom. She is a strong activist who has been standing strong against the brutal regime in Iran, and we are lucky to have her here with us today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Shirin, thank you very much. It's an honor to be in your presence, and it is a short trip to LA, but it had to happen. So I'm glad that we are speaking today, and there is no other way. We are united. There is only one of us in terms of a community and unity. We are one body, and we will fight this evil together.
You just blow my mind. I mean, we have all been watching you at all of these protests all around, standing strong, not just for the women of Iran, but for all women, for all people around the world. You have had death threats for speaking up. It's been brutal. Where do you're so young and you're an actress and a model and you have so much going for you, but your life has changed into becoming a full-time activist. Where do you find the courage to do this?
Thank you for all of that. It's very kind of you. The thing is, it's a duty, it's a human duty. When I see my people in Iran suffering, when I saw Mahsa Amini was killed for having a few strands of her hair at the hands of a totalitarian terrorist regime, I had to step up. I had to come out. Mahsa's murder happened at the same time as Queen Elizabeth II passed away. So in England, we as activists had to, for respect of the time of mourning, we had to stay kind of quiet for a few days. But as soon as the burial took place, the next day, Iranians came out organically in Iran, in London and from around the UK, and they called out woman life freedom, freedom for Iran. And when that movement was happening, I had no choice but to be there every single day. And the next thing you know, a year has already passed, and I'm still doing this every single day. And during these rallies that I would hold in London, along with so many other activists, Iranians, when they start something, they do not give up. I'm so proud of every single one of you. And thank you for having had my back every single day in London, especially through that horrible weather. It's always raining. So when I was in London and calling out the atrocities and the crimes and violations of the Islamic Republic against Iranian people, I was also reminding the West that if they don't care about the children of Iran, if the Islamic Republic is willing to mutilate, kill, torture, and rape children in Iran as a form of violence, they're not going to care about the West, they're not going to care about the children of Israel. And they are willing to take action against the West for as long as they know they can stay here and stay in power for just one extra day. Even if there's rivers of blood all over at their hands, they'll happily bathe in it as long as it means they can stay in power one extra day. So I had to take my chances.
You're incredible. I mean, you shared with me you were 13 years old when you left Iran, and that your whole life growing up through kindergarten, elementary school, high school, you were taught to chant death to America, death to Israel. Yet on October 7th, you stood up loudly and proudly for the people of Israel. You condemned Iran.
Absolutely. I will always condemn the Islamic Republic. The people of Iran are on the same side as me and you. The people of Iran are being oppressed and they're held hostage at the hands of a terrorist totalitarian group that is feeding its terrorist proxies in the region and constantly has the international community on their toes regarding what is their next action, how are they going to cause destruction. And Iranian people are fully aware of that. 2/3 of Iranians refuse to chant the chants that are being forced upon them in the rallies that are made and forced by the government. Because remember, if you want to go to university, they will bring you to their own sort of programs and stuff. But over the past year, the government's failing to do that. So in a sham act and a very weak act, they show on their sort of national state TV demonstrations from, I don't know, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Also, what happened on October 7th in Israel was a PTSD trigger for me and so many other Iranians, because what happened in November of 2019, in a space of 3 days, the Islamic Republic took it upon itself to rape, mutilate, and murder people in the streets of Iran for peaceful protesting against oil prices. And they dropped also, they really punished Iranians for the first time chanting at Reza Shah Ruhat Shad in Iran. So rest in peace, Reza Shah, was chanted throughout Iran in so many different cities. And the Islamic Republic was fully afraid and shaken by that. So they took it upon themselves to perform atrocities publicly, no longer just behind doors in hidden prisons, no longer just in sort of solitary confinements of Evin. No, in the streets of Iran. They killed and raped and mutilated, and then they threw the bodies of those honorable people in the gutter, in the sewage. Children had to find out. Imagine children playing by the river, and they would see washed up bodies. Oh my God. There is, in the dams, there is a forest of young people, young university students, parents, with their feet tied to weight at the bottom of a lake. Imagine that.
I mean, Lily, we know this. We know this to be true. We know what happened as well on October 7th, yet there's silence from the UN. There's silence from women like the Oprahs and the Me Too movements and Michelle Obama. Why do you think there's such a silence?
Honestly, it baffles me. It's shocking to me. It's double standards and it's toxic behavior, because it's gaslighting in so many ways. Michelle Obama took a very long time to tweet about Mahsa and woman life freedom. She took a very long time to speak about the women of Israel. And I have a lot of respect for her as a woman who's achieved so much for herself in her life. But when you are in such a strong position and you're such an inspiration to so many women around the world, it is your duty to speak up against atrocities against women. It doesn't matter where they're from. It doesn't matter if this is happening at the hands of the Islamic Republic or Hamas. The atrocities are taking place, and as a woman in power, you have a duty. Women of UN, this is not the right thing. This is not the right thing. You have to take action. Also, for as long as the UN has the Islamic Republic, the biggest violation and the biggest violator of human rights and women's rights on their Security Council, I mean, fraudulent much? Because UN is supposed to be the United Nations. And when you are bringing a terrorist organization, a terrorist government who has killed a woman for her hair, and the world knows about it. If they've done it once, they've done it 1,000,000 times already. And you gave them a seat in Human Rights Security Council. This is double standards, and it's supporting of terrorism. And that's not why the UN was formed. So please, take responsibility for the position you have. Women around the world, people around the world have given you that possibility, have given you that privilege. Please take action accordingly.
But Lily, when you see the UN Council, when you see UN Women, and you see all of our role models not taking a stance, and professors in the classroom, right, who are teaching this ideology to young minds, and then, right, as a result, we're seeing these students take to the streets and really march for terrorism is what essentially they're marching for.
Absolutely.
We saw this in Iran during the revolution.
From 5 years prior to 1979, this movement happened in a very sophisticated manner in Iran. Drop, 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 until a full public hypnosis had already happened by Khomeini. Because you see, the final year of our incredible Shah being in Iran, the Savak had put in a national curfew because of these protests that were coming up from these radicalist groups. And during that time, Khomeini and the Mujahideen, the Tudeh group, they all were in one sort of camp and ideology. So they would drop in recorded tapes of Khomeini. And during the national curfew, the lights were off. So in a very persuasive tone, in a hypnotic manner, Khomeini's being played in a small radio or a small stereo in the darkness, and the whole family is listening. After a few days, it's going to fall into a national hypnosis, and we have to be aware of that. And other than this idea of hypnosis, intellectuals of Iran took his side.
Yes.
Why? Because the West approved of him. You can't, I mean, Iranians take responsibility for the mistake they've made. So many people in the West who were influential in that move have taken responsibility. But at the same time, a lot of people haven't taken responsibility for bringing a terrorist government into Iran, for allowing for a terrorist government to perform a sham referendum when there is only yes or no on the ballots. And the international community accepted that. But Iran was an educated country. 95%, 96% of Iranians didn't believe that a horrible riot, which became a revolution, will take place.
But it did.
It did. Why? Because intellectuals accepted it and they pushed it through the universities. We're witnessing that same behavior here, same ideology, all for the purpose of openness and, in a sense, justice. But this is anarchy. You can't be calling a terrorist group a group of freedom fighters or resistant fighters when they come and take children hostage. There are still hostages in Gaza. The same way there are hostages, the entire nation of Iran is a hostage.
Yes. Yes.
We have thousands upon thousands of our young students, mothers and fathers in prisons of Iran right now, in the line of execution. And the Islamic Republic is currently using this time that the world is focused on Hamas and Israel to in a rapid manner. They're executing our young who stood up for our national revolution that took place from September of 2022. So the international community has to come together, because if the Middle East is going to fall apart, there will be no room of safety and freedom of democracy in the West. It's already here.
When you say it's already here, living in London, what are you seeing taking place over the past few decades?
Well, I tell you this. Coming from Iran, from the time that I've ever known Iran, it's been during the reign of the Islamic Republic. And I've experienced this two sides to the society of Iran. There's the one side that's liberated at home and in closed doors and in closed spaces, and then there is the gender apartheid and the severe oppression on women and extreme oppression on men. I mean, the insult. What does the Islamic Republic think Iranian men are? Are they like supposed to be sexual predators? Do you really believe that our men are so weak that they will get sexual arousal the second they see a single strand of hair? I mean, my hair is not fetish. Please stop that. It's ridiculous. It's so insulting to men. It's so insulting to our women. We are not your sins. We are not your sins. You need to stop that. The Islamic Republic has to understand this. Iranian women will not submit to you, even if you're covering them up, even if you're taking them to prisons, even if you're taking our sons and our fathers away because they're calling out for our freedom. So
they say they want to bring Sharia law to London.
They are. And Every time they've said that, I've stood up to them, against them. You see, Sharia law is radical Islam. And in radical Islam, women have no position. Children have no position. And they think women have no right to educate. If they want to educate, they can. I mean, in the Quran, you're encouraged to be educated, whether you're a man or a woman. But the radical Islam does not believe that. Radical Islam believes in the complete oppression of women. And then they're saying, Sharia law is there to protect women. You know, what if they want to get divorced? Women should have a right to divorce. Women should have a right to self-determination. It's not a choice that's supposed to be given to a man for them. But Sharia law is being encouraged and sort of advertised and promoted in England at the moment. Why? Because there's this political correctness idea that gives you, just because there is freedom of religion, well, I'm sorry, a radical politicized Islam is no longer a religion. It's a strain, or it's some form of, it's politics in the end. It's politics using the word of God. And I don't know how many times God has chosen one of us as God's sort of representative, but I've never had that hallucination. So I don't know who's out there saying, I mean, Khamenei himself came out and said, God spoke through me. And if that's not shirk, and I don't know what is. In Iran, shirk is punishable by death, yet he's still sitting on his throne.
So, Lily, where do we go from here? We see where you stand. We stand with you. But unfortunately, it seems, at least from what we're seeing on the media, that the youth find this to be a social justice movement they're taking to the streets, and the youth is the future. So what is the message that you have for those who are fighting in this so-called social justice movement?
I think it's very important that the youth or the young people in our society understand what justice actually means. There is so much there's so much division in the Western society right now through all of this movement of inclusivity. You're supposed to be inclusive, yet you're cutting out a whole bunch of people because there's this idea that this bunch of people have done injustice, or they've survived injustice in such a manner that they've now become a powerful group because they stayed together, because they refused to be oppressed. And instead of learning from them, they are punishing them. So it's just up to us and the rest of the society to try and teach the young people that what they're doing is not necessarily correct. Just because America recognizes its past mistakes, it doesn't mean a whole bunch of people have to be punished for things that they haven't done. So for as long as I know, Holocaust survivors came to the US as refugees. And slavery took place a whole other multiple centuries before that. So it's not up to the Jews, guys. They didn't do colonization. They got colonized themselves. They were pushed out of, through Islamic colonization, they got pushed out of so many places. Through Christian colonization, they got pushed out of so many places. It came to the part that they were physically tortured and killed and put into camps, and the world knows this. So surviving that and building upon your own personal power while having been through that kind of atrocity, that is admirable. It's not to be punished. And I love my Palestinian friends. I love the Palestinian civilians who are being used as human shields, and their life is precious. Just like the Israeli life is precious, or just like your life and my life is precious. So we have to get together and find a solution, but this finger pointing and gaslighting of one another, victim blaming is not the way forward.
Absolutely.
Also,
Absolutely.
The UN women, stop this. One plan of action for you. Take action. Send your troops to the hostages. I mean, I get it, you cannot get inside Iran, but Israel is asking you. Hamas is not stopping you. If you're on the ground to talk about Palestinian civilians and casualties, you're on the ground to also report your duty. Human life is valid. It must be respected. Look at what's happening around the world. We can't be fighting in this manner. So send the hostages home. UN women, the Red Cross, please do your job. Iranian people depend on you to do your job. Israelis depend on you to do your job. Palestinians depend on you to do your job. We do not need to have a continuous bloodbath in the Middle East.
Thank you, Lily Moo, for your voice, for your courage. Before we leave, can you tell me what that ribbon is that you're wearing around your lapel?
Absolutely. So this, as you can see, is the Lion and the Sun original flag of Iran. It's the imperialist flag of Iran. At the moment, we have a fake flag that's representing the Islamic Republic. It's just ridiculous. And the white ribbon is a campaign my friends started in London and actually across the world. There's a group called the Association of Iranian Human Rights and Allies, and they launched a campaign called Forget Me Not with the white ribbon. And this white ribbon represents all the lives that we have lost at the hands of the Islamic Republic, especially over the past 2 years.
Thank you for wearing your ribbon proudly. Thank you for shedding light and bringing love and unity and standing strong for people all over the world who are being terrorized by the Islamic Republic of Iran. And I hope that the more we speak about this, the more people can understand it. And together we can really rid the world of this evil. It's pure evil. Thank you, Lily Moo, for being here. You saw it all right here on Moms Matter. And we hope to see you all next time.